China has banned the export of some materials essential to the manufacturing of electronics and some military equipment to the U.S. It comes in response to Washington's chip sanctions on Beijing.
When it comes to protecting your financial future, we all want to feel secure in our investments. But what if I told you that a shocking move by China is rewriting the rules of international trade? And we are about to reveal how China's sudden export restrictions on critical materials are sending tremors through American industries and affecting your everyday expenses. From soaring production costs to unexpected market crashes, these developments may impact everything from your job security to your cost of living. Stick with me to the end, because what we uncover isn't just news. What is happening? In a stunning display of economic maneuvering, the People's Republic of China has imposed strict export restrictions on critical materials that serve as the backbone for high technology and defense industries. Among these are gallium, germanium, and antimony, materials that, although mentioned only in broad strokes here, play an indispensable role in the production of microchips, military-grade equipment, and renewable energy systems. The sudden decision has sent shockwaves through the global market, creating an atmosphere of uncertainty and urgency. American businesses, long accustomed to reliable access to these resources, now face the possibility of abrupt disruptions. At its heart, this is not merely a trade disagreement, it is a confrontation with profound implications for global supply chains and international economic stability. The very foundations upon which critical sectors depend are now at risk, threatening to destabilize industries far beyond the immediate scope of the trade dispute. The first shots of an economic war. The escalation of tensions between the United States and the People's Republic of China did not happen overnight. It began with the imposition of tariffs and other trade measures that had simmered beneath the surface of their complex relationship for years. In retaliation, China responded swiftly and strategically, executing a series of calculated economic countermeasures designed to assert its dominance and signal its resolve. These initial moves were not mere gestures. They represented a decisive shift towards an economic confrontation where political decisions and economic strategies converged. Each nation sought to project strength through a tit-for-tat escalation, leaving diplomatic channels strained and tense. Public statements and policies on both sides suggested that neither was willing to back down, indicating the potential for a prolonged standoff. At the heart of this confrontation lies control over key materials that are critical to the global technology sector: gallium, germanium, and antimony. While these elements may not be household names, their importance cannot be overstated. Gallium is essential in the production of semiconductors and light-emitting diodes, driving advances in information processing and display technology. Germanium is indispensable in fiber optic networks and high-speed electronics, forming the backbone of modern communication infrastructure. Antimony, though lesser known, plays a crucial role in flame retardants and advanced battery production, including those used in defense systems. China's near monopoly on the production and export of these resources gives it significant leverage over the global technology supply chain. Any disruption in their availability can have far-reaching implications, slowing innovation, impacting industries reliant on these materials, and even threatening national security. In this high-stakes economic struggle, control over these critical resources has become both a weapon and a shield, underscoring the importance of resource security in a rapidly advancing technological world. The early shots of this economic war reveal a larger truth. This conflict is not just about tariffs or trade deficits. It is a battle for control over the materials and technologies that shape the future, and both sides appear prepared to fight it for the long haul. By leveraging its dominance in these materials, China has positioned itself as an essential gatekeeper in industries that drive modern economies and secure technological progress. Markets are already feeling the heat. Global financial markets have reacted swiftly to China's export restrictions, with stock indices, particularly in technology and defense, experiencing notable fluctuations. This has led to heightened volatility and a significant drop in investor confidence. Analysts point to the uncertainty and potential supply chain disruptions as key drivers behind these market movements. As news spreads, investors are recalibrating their expectations for future earnings, leading to sell-offs and a repricing of risk. The financial shock is not limited to one region, but reverberates across the international economic landscape, impacting currency values, commodity prices, and investment strategies. These ripple effects signal that the full impact of China's decision is unfolding, with the situation evolving rapidly. In this early phase of the economic confrontation, the implications extend beyond isolated industries. The uncertainty now permeating the markets foreshadows the challenges ahead. Global trade, technological progress, and national security are all deeply intertwined with the steady flow of critical materials. Businesses and governments are being forced to reconsider their strategies as economic power becomes a tool for geopolitical influence. The stage is set for a drama that will test the United States economy and reshape global power dynamics. The shock from China's export restrictions highlights the complexity of this struggle between two economic giants. As the situation unfolds, businesses are scrambling to secure alternative materials, while investors closely watch market shifts, aware that every fluctuation could signal a change in the geopolitical landscape. As events continue, it is clear that China's move challenges the established order. The full scope of this economic confrontation will become clearer in the coming days, forcing a fundamental rethinking of global economic interdependencies and the future of international trade. But is the US economy truly self-sufficient? The United States relies heavily on imported critical materials that support its advanced industries, yet few people realize the extent of this dependency. Over the past several decades, a growing percentage of the raw materials essential for producing high-technology products, military equipment, and renewable energy systems has come from abroad. This reliance is not merely a matter of convenience, it is a structural characteristic of the national economy. Domestic production of these materials has lagged behind demand due to decades of policy decisions, regulatory challenges, and insufficient investments in local resource extraction and manufacturing capabilities. In many cases, the domestic supply chain is stretched thin, with critical components and raw materials sourced from regions that are geopolitically unstable or strategically unpredictable. As global trade has evolved, the United States has become intertwined with international supply networks, making it vulnerable to sudden shifts in trade policy or external shocks. The risks are significant. When a major supplier restricts exports, the domestic industries that depend on these materials face immediate disruptions. There is a potential for production halts, increased costs, and delays that ripple across the entire economy. The vulnerabilities extend beyond isolated sectors. They threaten the competitive advantage of the United States in critical areas such as semiconductors, advanced electronics, and defense. In a rapidly changing world where technology and security concerns are paramount, the structural weaknesses in domestic production and resource access present a clear and present danger. This analysis does not offer solutions, but it lays bare the stark reality that the US economy is not insulated from external shocks, and its current state of dependency could lead to long-term strategic challenges. The industries hit hardest. When we examine the concrete consequences of this dependency, the impact on certain industries becomes painfully evident. Consider the semiconductor sector, a cornerstone of modern technology. Companies in this field have long struggled with the need for rare materials that are sourced from global suppliers. Production delays resulting from disrupted shipments and resource bottlenecks have led to a cascading series of setbacks in product development and delivery. The defense industry is similarly affected. The availability of specialized materials is crucial for manufacturing everything from advanced radar systems to secure communication devices. Delays or shortages in these components not only increase production costs, but also compromise national security. Energy production, especially in renewable energy sectors, faces its own challenges. For instance, components used in solar panels and wind turbines require specific alloys and rare minerals. A disruption in supply can force companies to scale back production or face steep price hikes, ultimately affecting the overall competitiveness of the industry. In each of these sectors, the consequences are not limited to temporary setbacks. The long-term disruptions can reshape entire industries as companies struggle to find reliable alternatives or reconfigure their supply chains. Financial losses mount as firms face increased input costs, and the uncertainty of continued supply and security creates an environment of caution and stalled investment. This scenario underscores the profound vulnerability that stems from an over-reliance on imported materials, a vulnerability that is felt deeply by industries that are the backbone of economic progress and national security. The persistent risk of supply disruptions can impede innovation and slow the growth of these critical sectors over time. Lessons from past trade wars. History offers valuable insights into how economies have navigated similar challenges in the past. The trade conflicts between the United States and China in previous decades serve as instructive case studies. During earlier episodes of economic tension, industries learned to adapt through a variety of strategic measures. years. One common approach was supplier diversification. Instead of relying on a single source or region for critical materials, companies began to establish multiple supply channels across different countries. This not only mitigated risk, but also fostered competitive pricing and innovation in the supply chain. Offshoring adjustments also played a role, as firms relocated parts of their production processes to countries with more stable resource access and favorable trade conditions. These adaptations were not without their challenges, but they demonstrated that proactive measures could reduce vulnerability and improve resilience. The historical record teaches that a failure to adapt can lead to prolonged economic distress. Past trade wars have shown that rigid dependencies on external suppliers often result in significant disruptions. When external shocks occur, industries that have not diversified or modernized their supply chains can suffer long-lasting damage, with recovery taking years. The adaptive strategies employed during previous trade conflicts underscore the importance of flexibility, foresight, and the willingness to restructure operations in response to external pressures. By learning from these lessons, the United States can better understand the risks of repeating past mistakes. While this analysis does not propose immediate fixes, it emphasizes the need for a historical perspective in evaluating current vulnerabilities. When allies step in. In the face of mounting challenges, the response of the United States' key allies provides a glimmer of hope. Countries such as Japan, Australia, and the member states of the European Union are not standing idly by. These nations are actively forging short-term trade collaborations to mitigate the impact of supply disruptions. For instance, Japan has taken steps to secure alternative sources of critical materials through enhanced trade agreements with resource-rich countries. Australia is investing in its mining sector to boost the domestic production of rare minerals, thereby reducing reliance on imports. Meanwhile, the European Union is exploring integrated supply chain initiatives among member countries to strengthen collective resilience. These emerging partnerships are driven by a shared recognition that global supply chains are vulnerable and that collective action can help buffer individual economies from external shocks. The collaborative measures being undertaken are focused on immediate relief rather than long-term geopolitical shifts. By pooling resources and expertise, these allies aim to stabilize their industries and ensure that critical sectors can continue to function even if traditional supply routes are disrupted. This proactive cooperation among allies demonstrates a pragmatic approach to managing risk in an interconnected global economy. While these measures do not resolve the underlying issues of dependency, they offer a tactical means of navigating the current crisis and minimizing the immediate fallout. What's China's real endgame here? China's recent strategic maneuvers have raised significant questions about its long-term geopolitical and trade objectives. Instead of merely reacting to immediate challenges, the People's Republic of China appears to be setting the stage for a future in which it holds a commanding position in both global trade and technology. At the heart of this strategy lies a deliberate focus on securing control over critical materials, such as gallium, germanium, and antimony, that form the backbone of advanced technological industries. By ensuring a steady grip on these essential resources, China is not only safeguarding its industrial base, but also creating leverage that can be used in broader trade negotiations. This approach underpins Beijing's vision of economic self-reliance and global influence. By investing heavily in domestic production capabilities and establishing strategic partnerships around the world, the People's Republic of China is building a robust framework that can support a leadership role in the international order. The country is actively positioning itself as a crucial player in emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence and next-generation semiconductors, where these materials are indispensable. Through long-term planning and infrastructural investments, China is aiming to transform its role from a mere manufacturer into a global leader in technology and innovation. This calculated approach is designed to expand its influence not only over domestic industries, but also over international markets, reshaping the balance of power in global trade for decades to come. Can America push back? The critical question now facing the United States of America is whether it can effectively counter these expansive ambitions. In response to the evolving challenge, American policymakers and industry leaders are exploring a series of counter-strategies designed to reduce reliance on imported critical materials and to reinvigorate domestic production. One promising avenue is the initiative to reshore manufacturing operations, encouraging companies to bring production back home. This strategy not only aims to mitigate supply chain vulnerabilities, but also to create jobs and stimulate economic growth within the United States of America. In addition to reshoring, the United States of America is actively seeking alternative suppliers around the globe. By diversifying its sources of critical materials, the country hopes to avoid a situation where any single nation holds disproportionate influence over its industrial capabilities. Furthermore, targeted government incentives are under discussion, including subsidies for research and development, tax breaks for domestic manufacturers, and investments in next-generation infrastructure. These measures are part of a broader debate within the United States of America about how best to secure long-term economic and technological independence. However, internal challenges such as political disagreements and competing interests among industry stakeholders continue to complicate the process. The success of these counter-strategies will ultimately depend on the ability of American leaders to implement policies that are both flexible and resilient in the face of rapid global change. The Tech Cold War intensifies. As the struggle over critical materials intensifies, the technological rivalry between the United States of America and the People's Republic of China has taken on characteristics of a modern Cold War. This new phase of competition is not merely about controlling trade flows, it is fundamentally about achieving supremacy in high technology sectors that are crucial for future economic dominance. The conflict is deeply intertwined with advances in artificial intelligence, next-generation semiconductor production, and cutting-edge defense technologies. In this high-stakes arena, both nations are deploying innovation policies and export controls that reflect their broader ambitions. The United States of America, for instance, has implemented strict regulations on technology transfers and is investing billions in research and development to maintain its competitive edge. At the same time, the People's Republic of China is rapidly accelerating its own technological programs, pouring resources into education, infrastructure, and state-sponsored enterprises designed to rival American innovation. The battle lines are drawn not only in boardrooms and factories, but also in the legislative chambers where policymakers debate how best to protect national security while fostering an environment conducive to technological advancement. This technological Cold War represents a fundamental contest for the future of global economic leadership. Each innovation policy, each export control, and every strategic investment is a step toward redefining the international landscape of power and influence. How this affects you directly. While these high-level geopolitical maneuvers may seem abstract, their impacts are felt directly by consumers and everyday citizens. The escalation of trade tensions and the ensuing technological rivalry have already begun to influence the cost of everyday goods, from the latest smartphones to household appliances. As supply chains become more fragmented and manufacturing processes are forced to adapt, prices are rising and job stability is threatened. Many families in the United States of America are beginning to notice the effects through higher bills at the checkout and a tightening of the overall economic environment. Practical steps can be taken to manage these uncertainties. For example, consumers are encouraged to stay informed about market trends and to consider diversifying their sources of essential products. Financial planning and budgeting have become even more critical as inflationary pressures increase. It is also advisable to monitor local job markets and to pursue opportunities for further education and skill development, ensuring that one remains competitive in a shifting economic landscape. The reality is that these broad geopolitical and economic shifts have a direct bearing on everyday life. By understanding the underlying dynamics of this economic struggle, individuals can make more informed decisions, whether it is in managing household expenses or planning for the future. The outcome of this global contest will not only determine which nation leads in technology and trade, but will also shape the quality of life for millions of people around the world. Is this the end of global free trade? The recent economic conflict has not only rattled markets, but is also accelerating an irreversible shift toward global protectionism. Nations around the world are increasingly erecting trade barriers that disrupt the once unchallenged principle of free trade. This shift is not merely an incidental reaction to global tensions, but a deliberate policy change driven by rising nationalism. Governments, faced with growing internal pressures, are reassessing their roles in global commerce, imposing tariffs and non-tariff barriers that restrict the free flow of goods and services. The unraveling of trade agreements is one of the most significant consequences of this shift. The very fabric of multilateral cooperation, which underpinned international commerce for decades, is beginning to fray. As these agreements break down, long-standing treaties that once promised mutually beneficial market access are falling apart. In a world that was once united by the principle of free exchange, these developments signal a transition to an era where economic self-interest overshadows collective progress. The focus is shifting from open markets to policies that prioritize national security and economic interests. The realignment of global alliances. In response to these tectonic shifts, geopolitical alliances are undergoing profound transformations. As tensions between the United States of America and the People's Republic of China intensify, traditional alliances are being tested, and new regional trade blocs are emerging. Countries across continents are recalibrating their strategic partnerships, driven by the need to secure alternative markets and diversify their economic engagements. These emerging regional alliances are more than just temporary arrangements. They are structured partnerships aimed at leveraging regional strengths, modernizing infrastructures, and creating stable supply networks. Countries in Asia, Europe, and beyond are crafting strategies that reflect their unique economic landscapes and geopolitical realities. The focus of these partnerships is no longer on global free trade, but on creating robust regional systems that can withstand global shocks. In this new order, the emphasis is on regional cooperation rather than reliance on a global system that is no longer able to provide the same level of security or economic promise. Building economic resilience. Looking to the future, the United States of America is compelled to adopt forward-looking strategies to reduce its dependency on foreign imports and build a more resilient domestic economy. The current turmoil has exposed significant vulnerabilities in the nation's supply chains, prompting policymakers to explore bold initiatives in research and development, domestic resource development, and infrastructure enhancement. One of the most crucial strategies is investing in research and development to foster innovation and create domestic alternatives to imported materials. At the same time, there is a renewed emphasis on developing domestic resource extraction capabilities to ensure that critical materials are sourced locally, rather than relying on volatile international markets. This dual approach, combining technological innovation with robust domestic production, is designed to insulate the national economy from external shocks. Infrastructure improvements also play a central role in this strategy. Modernizing transportation, energy, and communication networks will significantly enhance the efficiency of domestic production and distribution systems. Diversifying supply chains is another cornerstone of this resilient strategy. By reducing over-reliance on any single country or region, the United States can mitigate risks and build a more adaptable, secure economy. These strategies are not mere reactions to the current crisis. They form part of a comprehensive plan to reimagine the economic landscape in a way that ensures long-term stability and growth. Who really wins in this economic war? As the battle lines are drawn and the stakes continue to rise, the question remains, who ultimately benefits in this economic war? The long-term consequences of this conflict extend far beyond immediate market reactions and industrial disruptions. The United States of America and the People's Republic of China are locked in a struggle that will define the future balance of global power. On one hand, aggressive protectionist policies may provide short-term relief for domestic industries, but they risk deepening economic divisions that could hamper global growth. On the other hand, a more cooperative approach, though challenging, could pave the way for sustained economic collaboration and shared prosperity. The question is whether both nations can recognize that some degree of cooperation is essential to navigate the complexities of today's global economy. Further escalation could lead to harsher economic consequences, triggering a cycle of retaliatory measures that disrupt global trade. However, avenues for de-escalation and negotiation remain open. Both sides have much to lose from a prolonged conflict, and a pragmatic recognition of the need for cooperation may offer a pathway to resolving some of the challenges. In this evolving situation, the question of who wins is complex. The benefits and losses will be distributed across various sectors of society. The technological race, the restructuring of supply chains, and the formation of new geopolitical alliances will all contribute to a shifting balance of power. Ultimately, the true winners will be the nations and industries that can adapt quickly to these new realities, innovate consistently, and forge new productive partnerships. In a world where economic security is increasingly tied to political strategy, the ability to balance competition and cooperation will determine the future of global trade. A turning point for global free trade. The ongoing conflict marks a significant turning point in the global economy. It forces a reevaluation of long-held beliefs about free trade and international integration. The rapid shift toward protectionism, the realignment of alliances, and the pursuit of economic resilience are part of a larger narrative that continues to unfold. The choices made today will shape the global economic order of tomorrow, determining which nation comes out ahead and how interconnected the world remains. In the end, the challenge will be to strike a balance between safeguarding national interests and maintaining the spirit of collaboration that has long driven global prosperity. We are entering an era where the rules of international trade are being rewritten, and only those who can adapt will thrive. Let me know your thoughts on this shift. How do you think this will affect the future of global trade? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more on these rapidly changing dynamics.